Elias was the best tracker we ever had. So when a kit it hit who's hard, he didn't just turn in his badge and walk away. He left his sanity behind too. He dig on and on about something he called a fold in the forest, and these strange thump-hiss sounds he kept hearing on his radio. We all just chalked it up to isolation-induced psychosis. Eat. Apens. You spend enough time alone in the deep woods, and your mind starts playing tricks on you. At least, that's what we thought. Until we went back for the shoes, I led a small, 3-person team to the last known coordinates Elias had provided. The location was deep in the Gifford Pinchot National Forest. Now, the Gifford Pinchot is usually a living, breathing wall of sound. You've got birds, insects, the wind rustling through ancient trees. Never truly quiet, but as our boots crossed the 3-mile mark from the trailhead, the forest changed. It didn't go silent, not like Elias described it when to roam wrong. The birds were still chirping, the squirrels were still chattering, but the sound itself was delayed. A hawk would cry out high above, and we'd see its beak open, but the sound would unreach us until a full 5 seconds. After the bird had already vanished behind the tree line, it was surreal, like the very air around us had turned into a thick, syrupy liquid lagging behind reality. It made your skin crawl. "Sarah, look, my navigator," Mike whispered, his voice tight. And there they were. The red sneakers. They were sitting in a patch of mud, exactly where Elias's frantic notes said they'd be. But he was wrong about one crucial detail. They weren't empty. When I leaned in for a closer look, a cold dread trickled down my spine. The shoes weren't just sitting on the mud. They seemed to be fused to it. The rubber soles had melted and warped, becoming one with the earth. But the mud itself was cold unnaturally so. It was frosted with a thin, delicate layer of white rime, which made absolutely no sense. The temperature was a balmy 70 degrees. My breath hitched. I reached out with my metal trekking pole, just to nudge one of the shoes, to see if it was real. The moment the metal tip made contact with the worn canvas, my radio exploded. It wasn't static. It was a scream, a high, piercing, tonal scream that was perfectly, unnervingly clear, but it wasn't coming from the speakers. It felt like it was vibrating out of the very plastic of the radio casing itself, right through my hand. We all scrambled backward, tripping over roots, our hearts hammering against our ribs, and that's when what Elias called the AOS effect hit us. In an instant, the entire soundscape of the forest just snapped shut. The delayed bird calls, the wind, everything gone. The silence was so absolute, so profound. I could hear the thumping rush of my own blood pulsing through my carotid artery. It was the loudest thing in the world. "Do you see that?" Mike's voice was a choked whisper, and he was pointing a trembling finger toward a massive Douglas fir about 30 yards away. The tree was peeling, not like bark shedding in the spring, but like old, sun-baked wallpaper. Large, perfectly rectangular sections of the trunk were fluttering in a wind we couldn't feel, peeling away to reveal something underneath. It wasn't wood. It was a glitch. It looked like raw, pulsing television static, a shimmering, monochrome void where a tree should be. Our reality was fraying at the edges. Then I saw him. Elias. He was standing just 20 yards away, partially obscured by a screen of ferns. He was wearing his old Ranger uniform, crisp and clean, but he was standing perfectly still, possibly still. His entire body was tilted at a sharp 45-degree angle, leaning on nothing, defying gravity like a broken mannequin. His eyes were wide and vacant, staring right through us. "Elias," I called out, my voice cracking. He didn't blink. His lips didn't move, but his voice came out of my radio, my dead radio, crystal clear. "I'm still in the truck, Sarah. Don't look at me." "I'm already in the truck." A wave of pure terror washed over me. I forced myself to look back at the red sneakers. They were gone. They were gone. In their place were 2 perfectly shoe-shaped holes in the mud, dark and empty, trailing off like footprints into the static-filled, glitching tree. We ran. We didn't even scream. We just ran, fueled by primal fear, not stopping until our feet hit the hard, solid asphalt of the service road. The familiar world felt like a sanctuary. When we finally got back to the ranger station, my hands were still shaking so badly I could barely dial the phone. I had to check on Elias. I had to know. He picked up on the first ring. He sounded normal, just tired. He told me he'd been sick all day and hadn't left his bed. I felt a small, foolish wave of relief. Maybe we were all just losing our minds. But as we were hanging up, there was a faint click on the line. "Sarah?" Elias's voice asked again, but it was different this time. It was wet and rhythmic. Thumpus, thumpus. "Did you find the shoes?" The voice sloshed. "I think I left my feet in them." I slammed the phone down. I looked down at the floor of the station, at the sterile, brightly lit linoleum, and there, in the middle of the clean floor, was a single, wet, muddy footprint. It wasn't the size of a man's boot. It was small, the size of a child's shoe. And then, one by one, the fluorescent lights in the station ceiling hummed, flickered, and went silent.